America prides itself on being the world's leading democracy. We're a country where civil rights leaders march to protect freedom of speech, the press, and peaceful protest. The world watches every 4 years when we choose our new leaders. But half a century after passing the Voting Rights Act, millions of Americans are still struggling to participate in our democracy. They might be barred from voting because they don't have the right ID or because they moved. Some states kick you off the voter registration list because you didn't vote in past elections. The people who suffer the most from these policies are the Americans who truly need representation. People of color, people living on the margins, and the people attempting to rebuild their lives. From now until November, there's a lot of talk about who will be president. But I'm interested in the aspects of our election cycle that don't always make it to the front page. For the past 2 years, I visited Florida, where voters overwhelmingly supported a change to the state constitution allowing people with felony convictions to vote after completing their sentence. I've spent time with the grassroots organizers who made this change happen, and even watched people regain their right to vote in Miami. 6.1 million Americans, the majority of them black, have lost their right to vote through felony disenfranchisement, even if they were in prison for a single day over 30 years ago. America is one of the only countries that actively disenfranchises its people. But the win in Florida is part of a sweeping change. States like Nevada and Kentucky have joined Florida in restoring the right to vote to people with convictions. As I've become more involved in politics, I've also been paying more attention to the smaller elections that we don't always talk about. And these elections often shape our law enforcement in our cities. In 2020, 2,300 communities across the country will choose sheriffs and prosecutors. That includes a new wave of district attorneys who lead investigations on crime, issue pardons, and weigh in on the often fraught cases between police and ordinary citizens, especially in communities of color. Then there's the ballot initiatives that will greet us at our polling stations. Here in Los Angeles, residents will hopefully be supporting Measure R, a local initiative to increase community oversight on law enforcement and reduce the jail population on March 3rd. I believe it's these elections, these movements, that give us the opportunity to undo a system of oppression from the ground up. It's how we make sure that no American is invisible and that we as communities have a stake in everything from a minor change in the state constitution to who is allowed to get married. It's 2020. Things are not easy. The country feels divided, basic human rights are being threatened, and millions of Americans still can't cast a ballot. But I know the more we pay attention to the powers that be and the way they impact you and me, the better equipped we are to rise up.